Well, hello, welcome back to Not in My City Unite. I'm Charmaine James. And today we're going to recap on an episode we did last year. Today makes a year. And I have two special guests with me. I have Tiffany Buckley. You have a new last name. Last time you was just engaged and now y'all married, so congratulations. And then I have my personal trainer with me,
Yay!
the lady that beat me down early in the mornings, Mariah Nonette. And you have a new last name as well.
I do.
So I have two newlyweds with me. The last episode I had Tiffany with me was called Living in Two Different Worlds. And you can go back on our YouTube channel and watch it if you hadn't seen it. It's Not in My City Unite. But today I wanted to bring in Mariah because last time we didn't have, we only had your aunt and we had a parent of a biracial daughter. But I wanted to bring in someone that had lived biracially forever and understood and knew. And some of y'all might be looking and saying, what's the big deal about it? I'm gonna have Tiffany share her story for those that hadn't heard it before. Just share your story of what happened a year ago.
So a year ago, me and my fiance, then husband now, we got a DNA test he's adopted. So we went ahead and got a DNA test. I got it for him for his birthday and we did it and realized through all that I'm biracial. I'm 15%, I think it is, Nigerian and all these things. And I grew up surrounded by white people. I mean, my family, my mom's white, whole family's white, and really didn't realize that I was different from them until I was like 8 or 9 years old. But the DNA test a year ago really brought out my mom was raped. There's a lot of still hurt there with her.
Yes.
And so now I'm trying to find out about that other side of me. And I find it difficult sometimes just because I am surrounded by everybody that I know is white, everybody that I associate with and hang out with is white. So now I'm almost like a baby finding out about all these new different things about myself that all this has brought up.
And so just so everybody know, I've been knowing you all your life, pretty much. And I had no clue. I just like, she's a beautiful girl. And so when your aunt, Donna Wells, called and just told me, and we began to pray for you, and just she just opened the door to ask me if I would help you, the first person I thought of was Mariah. And of course, Elizabeth Stubblefield was on our last one, and her daughter. And so I'm today not only want to help you, but help either parents, adoptive parents, grandparents, or even biracial men and women and children themselves deal with not just struggles, but understand the victory. Because like I said, Mariah is my trainer, and we talk through training and about a lot of different topics with race and what she had to live through, what I had to live, what we all lived through. And I know she can, while we're sitting here at this time, just help you. Because there's so many questions you had at our last two episodes and interviews that honestly we could not answer. We could answer some, but it's always great to talk to someone and bring someone in that lives in it every day. And so, Mariah, we're gonna start with you. How did you, or do you receive any treatment different in your life because of your skin color? Have you received just been treated differently because of your skin color?
Growing up, yes. Not so much now, but definitely growing up. And it's weird because I would notice it, but then my parents would do such a good job of like kind of keeping us from it. But there would be little things like, I remember when me and my sister were in daycare, and I think this more so happened to her, but I was right there. A little white girl came up to her and said, "There's no way a black man and a white woman can make a baby." So we would get kind of like, I guess, bullied in a way.
Yeah.
And so it kind of made me feel bad, but then I got confused because I'm like, why do I feel bad? Like, there's literally not one thing that I can do about it. But obviously, elementary school, middle school, I didn't quite understand that. But I remember even in middle school dating a black guy, it's middle school, so
Yes.
little, going to the movies, and these black girls would be like, why are you trying to take our men? And I was like, so basically I grew up very, very confused. I went to a very mixed elementary school and then a predominantly black middle school. And that's when a lot of it happened. And my mom's white, my dad's black. And I remember in middle school is when it really hit me being at a predominantly black school. Because again, the comment about, why are you trying to take our men? And I'm like, well, who do I date?
Yes, yes.
And I would just get bullied and without really being, not the bully in a sense of like hitting you or anything like that, but just little jabs at being biracial, and I will never forget, and I feel so bad about it, but I was in middle school. I remember me and my best friend, who's also biracial, we were waiting and her mom's white as well, we were waiting for our moms to pick us up at middle school from this predominantly black school, and I'd be like, gosh, I hope my mom's like last to pick us up.
Aww.
Because I didn't want people to see her that she was white, because I would get made fun of.
Yeah.
It's not her fault.
No.
But we would.
And it's not yours either.
Right, and it's not anyone's fault. And I remember also going to different churches in this area and us having to move around churches because they didn't, in the 90s, agree with my parents being, together. And I never understood that until I got older. So my parents did such a good job with kind of, I don't want to say sheltering us from it, but they did such a good job of keeping us out of the drama of it.
Yes, a balance.
And until we got older to where we could understand it. And there's some stuff I'm still finding out that I'm like, with family. And I'm like, what? Because I truly I got embarrassed of it, like I said, in middle school of my mom being white. But then in high school is when I really embraced it. I was like, yes, I'm both.
Yeah.
And I started taking advantage of it, and I became really popular with all kinds of groups, everyone,
Yeah, diverse.
And it's almost like I took it as a role that God gave me, seriously, to bring people together.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a little bit of my story with that.
You have any, you want to elaborate on that?
My experience was so much different.
Because I feel that you want to, I feel it's jumping
Ask
out
me
of
all
you
the
like you
things.
got something.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
ahead.
because my experience was so different. My family, okay, so I talked about it last time. When I was in the third grade, fourth grade, I had my best friend, I went to a white school. I went to Little Cypress, so there was maybe 5 black kids there. And my best friend was white, and I wanted to go stay the night at her house, and her grandma said no because I was black. And when this girl brought this to me, I argued with her. No way am I black. No, how could you say that? And when I took it to my family, it was all just kind of swept under the rug. Oh, you're dark because there's somebody Spanish in our family from way back. And I'm like, okay. But so we never talked about it. And I kind of had to deal with those kind of bullies and the questions and comments that people had internally because I didn't know who to talk to about. You know what I mean? All my family, they didn't understand and they wouldn't really talk to me about it, even if they did, because back then it was my mom's big secret and, all these things. Now I can go to, not really my mom, but my family and talk to them about stuff like that. But like you said, I don't feel that anymore. Now I feel like it's a way to bring people together. Even with the work that I do now, I can reach people that won't listen to what Anna has to say just because she's white.
Yes.
So I see the difference now, but back then it was almost like a big secret, and it was
hard. A secret.
It was hard to not talk to anybody about it and to not understand why people were saying that. At school, it was 2 different worlds. I was living in one world where I was biracial and, people talked about it at school, but at home, we didn't talk about it. I was just theirs. And they loved me.
Yes.
But they didn't understand. Like you said, it was the 90s and just wasn't talked about.
And for you, it was a secret.
It was.
And your mom wasn't ready to talk about that and deal with that. Let's talk about what you said on that last interview on even, because when you said you argued like, no, I am not black, to even the point that you went into a dark place of really not even wanting to be around and liking black people. Let's talk about that season you were in.
It's very true. I went through probably years, all my teenage years, trying to do everything to not be black. I mean, I straightened my hair. I would go tan, which is like so opposite of what I'm supposed to do. And it was just little things like that, and I don't think I did it like consciously, not having any black friends, but like I just wanted to be around, and I submersed myself in everything that, fighting it almost, being black. And now it's like I say, it's trying to like figure out what that means for me and I want to embrace it now.
Yes.
I want to talk to everybody about it, although I don't know what to say all the time, but I do. I want to talk about it. I want to know about that culture and that side of me, because I know about the white. I know everything about that. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be, I don't want to be fighting that anymore. I don't want to be that to be a secret. It's not a secret. It's something for me to be proud of.
It's beautiful.
And it's right. It's beautiful.
Yes.
And so like you were saying, you were just fighting it. When I sent out the questions, and you've had them before, but I really felt that it would be different this time with Mariah being here. And in one of the questions, and I really want to give it to Mariah, and then you can elaborate on it after it. Do you identify more on one side? Which you answered that you embrace both.
Right.
But as you were growing up, when you were confused, did you identify more with being black or more with being white?
I think, because I did grow up like with both, but I kind of leaned over to the white side more, honestly, because they were nicer to me.
Yeah.
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 And I played softball, predominantly white, and I danced. And, but I think it's mostly with just like most of my best friends are all white or mixed. And she's the same way. And I think it's honestly because they were just so much nicer.
Welcoming.
These black girls would just make fun of me. And my sister, I just remember being like, what did I do to you? I'm just me. I'm just being.
Yeah.
And you're being a bully for something I have zero control over. And so definitely grew up with both, identify with both, but leaned more towards the white side, for sure.
And of course you.
Right. And I do remember, black girls. My mom worked with a lot of black people, and we have these company picnics, and that's where I would get, a lot of little girls there were black, and they were mean. They would ask me where my daddy was. They would ask me how, you can't, and I didn't know back then. I was still asking for a daddy for Christmas. I didn't have that in my life.
Yes.
So I just, I remember being like very put off by the way they treated me. So I definitely, that probably contributed to me clinging to my white side more, because I didn't feel accepted by that. And it was hard. I don't think I've ever thought about that since like right now. But that was really hard. And that was probably why, a lot of the reason why. And with the incident with the girl's mom not wanting me to spend the night, it was like she was telling me that being black was bad.
Yes.
So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make everybody happy, and it worked for a while, but not for long. Once you start getting in the older years and you're trying to deny a whole part of your identity.
The whole part.
Everything, and for me, everything fell apart. I fell into addiction. Yeah. Didn't know who I was or where I was going.
And that's why I wanted Mariah to be here today.
Right.
Because this is more than just I'm bringing on people to have a show to talk about just anything. But it's also to heal, it's also to help and to bring awareness to where we at, in not just as a society, but where we are in the world.
Right.
And what we're dealing with racism, because that's a part of racism. And it's not on the white side.
No,
Right.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Right.
And sometimes that's all that's portrayed in the media is black and white.
Right.
But it's all over. It's on both. It's on all sides sometimes, and it's a matter of the heart. And so,
it's good to know I wasn't alone.
you wasn't.
I felt
But
like
see,
it was
you
just-
felt
You
like,
felt like you were alone.
and I'm glad you just said that. It's good to know I wasn't alone. This is why I wanted to do this show, is because it's someone that's going to watch it on YouTube, or somebody's going to watch it on a channel and say, I feel alone, and now I'm so glad that I'm not alone.
Right, and I'm able to relate with someone. That's how it was for me. I'm like, I guess you didn't realize, you're young and it's confusing.
Yes.
You didn't realize what you're going through. And as you get older, you're like, oh. And there are other people and other instances. And conversations like this are going to trigger memories. And then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I did go through that. And I know how to work through it because maybe it's hindering something else that's bigger in your life.
Yes.
So we might be doing a lot of help
good here.
Deliverance, breakthrough, and healing.
Yeah.
That's not going to help you, but also help your spouses, your children,
Yes.
your family, to where you, and others that I believe it's a ministry that you minister
Yes.
to.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about some internal struggles, because we've been talking about it just kind of glazing over. But just like you said, I didn't think about that until now. And now I feel like I'm not alone. Or you went back and thought about the picnic and how it hurt and how that trauma could still be on you. I mean, we still have things that, like you said, it will trigger just some things that have you to go
thoughts.
back and think about it, or things that you experienced. Let's just talk about internal struggles. Let's move from your adolescence to adulthood, internal struggles that you've dealt with to just try to help her, because it might trigger some things in her and say, oh, well, this is why I dealt with this.
Right. Some internal struggles, that stem from like adolescent would be really just accepting that I have both sides and being okay with it and not being ashamed of it. And I remember having that struggle on both sides. And now as an adult, it's not a struggle anymore. It's more of like how do I deal with this and I'm able to help other people. Now that I know that I went through it, what can I do to use this to help other people get through it? Because there were so many struggles. I mean, even from my like hair, you know, I'm like, what the heck do I do with this? Because it can be pretty crazy. And I think growing up and getting older, it was not so much me internally struggling with stuff, but it was getting to know what my mom and dad went through.
Yes.
And really understanding that and being able to testify and help other people go, I went through that, or my parents went through that. And that's why when all the Black Lives Matter and all that happened, I was like, I have a lot to say about this, you know, because I remember literally being in a group of people, and a lot of the Black people were like, well, I went through a lot of racism, and a lot of white people were like, well, I don't understand it. And I'm like, well, let me tell you about having it from both sides.
Yes.
You know, and then having to work through that, you know. So just trying to learn and learn and remember and kind of piece it all together and go, what do I do with this now? How can I help? And so I just remember it being so hard, just accepting the fact that I had both sides, because I was just made fun of so much. And it just didn't make sense to me. And it made me angry even thinking back on it. So those are some things that I had to kind of battle with.
And your identity.
Yes.
And what's making you angry is because I know you, and I'm with you all, like
She's my life coach.
all the time, early in the morning, that you know your identity. But so then you didn't. So you're upset because you had to mature in that.
Yes,
and that
that's
was
exactly
God.
it.
You had to mature in understanding that it's a blessing from both sides.
Exactly, and not be ashamed of it, and not try to hide one side or the other.
Yeah.
Because there is no hiding.
No.
You know.
And being unapologetically you.
And that's it. And I have to say, like, in really in high school is when I really embraced it. And I was like, I am mixed, you know? My mama is white as they get, and my daddy is as black as they get. And who wants to talk about it? Because I'm not ashamed anymore. And I have I can pull so many benefits from both sides.
Yes.
But I just have to hug my parents and in a different way of just them, dealing with me as a teenager and kid and all that drama in itself. But I have to just hug them and go, y'all, like, you dealt with it so well to where it wasn't put on me. It makes me tear up.
Yes.
Especially my mom, because she's from Jasper, Texas.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and there's things that they'll probably never even tell me that they went through, but the things I just know, I'm like, thank you. And I'm going to take that, and I'm going to help other people. You know, I feel like it's just like my job. I feel like it's my obligation for sure.
Everybody's not from
They're not going to.
Southeast Texas and understand, but it was a senseless killing of a black man in Jasper, and that was really devastating to the community, to our nation, to our state. James Byrd, and she did talk about that. And so for you to say, so I'm so glad that I listened to the Lord and had you on, that I forgot that you all was from there. And
I spent a lot of time
there.
there in Jasper, and I love Jasper. Those are my people.
And so for you to have to fight through that and go through that, I mean, that's amazing, because I totally forgot.
It was one of those things that growing up, I had to deal with, you're being too white or being too black.
Yep.
And that is a struggle that I never understood, because I was like, I know what y'all are trying to get at by that, but like my dad and a lot of my black side is very like proper, and he's well spoken. My dad is so smart, and my Jasper side is crazy. And so I was like, I don't act white, and I love both of them, but that is just such a shot at white and black and stereotypes.
And thank you. I'm about to say that, because
rude.
that's very rude.
Yeah.
Because you act this way, you're that way.
Right.
You're this color.
Right. It
You're
has
white
nothing
or
to
you
do
black.
with white or black.
No.
Jasper is, they are fun. We have a good time every time we go. But I was like, I don't act like that, and that's my white side. I don't understand what y'all are getting at.
Backwards.
It's ignorance.
It's ignorance.
And not understanding that everybody's temperament and everybody's families and lifestyles are different.
Right.
Yeah.
And they love me hard in Jasper. And oh my gosh, I remember one little story. We were at my cousin's baby shower, and my sister and I are the only black girls there because we're in Jasper, and at this baby shower for my cousin, and this woman came up to me from the dad's side, and she goes, "Where do you know her from school?" And I'm thinking like, "No, my cousin." I was like, "No." And so the one who's pregnant, I guess it's my second cousin, her mom wrapped her arm around me and my sister in front of this woman who asked us, and goes, "This is my family. What do you mean?" And my Jasper family is so protective of us and just love us, and regardless of color. So I was like, Jasper is everything to me. I love that side. I love all the sides. But to say the ignorant statement of acting white or acting black is just, it's time to let that go.
It's time to go.
Yes.
Let that go. And so what about you with internal?
Internal, when you said it the first time, the first thing I thought of was my interactions with people, black people or whatever. Like, if I see a group of people that I don't know and it's a group of white ladies, I have no problem going up and talking. But when I see like a group of black ladies, I stop myself, because I don't know what to say or how to interact, and it almost puts like a fear into me, and I really never thought about that till, like I say, just now. Like, I won't go interact and put myself out there with people. Now, with you, of course, you've known me, and that's different. But with strangers or people that I am now going into meeting all these different new people and different interactions with ministry and stuff, I won't be as open or as authentically me.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. Maybe from, like we said earlier, the the black girls that were mean to me or something.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've had anybody be mean to me recently, but
Yes,
maybe that's
but
something
still,
that I carry.
a trauma.
It's a
from,
trauma.
Right. So I get intimidated almost.
Yeah. And that's a fear. That's a part of fear. And not even knowing, because this is new to you too.
Right.
Not even understanding how do I relate or what did I say.
What do I say?
And I mean, I'm black.
Right.
You're like, hey.
Just be yourself.
Right.
And either they receive you or they don't.
And that's it.
And that's it. And if they don't, you just keep it moving.
Right.
But we want today for you to walk away from here not feeling intimidated.
Right. Right.
That you're empowered, that it doesn't matter who you are,
Right.
what color you are, what status you are.
Right.
This is who I am. I'm Tiffany. I'm going to walk up, I'm going to speak, and I'm going to, either the door open and we have a conversation and a relationship and connect, or it doesn't. And I just bless you.
Right.
Because that can stop you progressing in your identity.
Yes, as a human. Oh, yeah.
I knew. I've said,
all right, I got it.
Tag me in.
You tag me and go. Because it's like you're learning and going through what I went through a long time ago. So I've had a lot of time to like process it and understand it and be okay with it. And so just when you said that, I'm like, you just keep being yourself, doing the research, getting to know your history, getting to know your family, and ultimately, regardless of all that, just getting to know you and yourself, regardless of what you're preconditioned to have learned and what you were taught and all the things. Because now I can say, I'm just such an extrovert, which she knows. I'm a talker. I get it from my mama. And so, but I can talk to anyone.
Right.
And I'm so comfortable with myself, regardless of being black and white, just me in general, that I'm just like, I can go, I could just literally talk to anyone and just be okay with it because I'm so okay with myself. And that took a long time through multiple things, not just white and black, but the more comfortable you get with yourself and okay with yourself, then the more you can grow and then spread your wings and go out there and then not have to worry about it. And then the ball's in their court.
Right.
Yes.
You're yourself and that's it. And you're okay with it. And you're a great person. And if they don't accept it, it's their loss because you're okay with yourself. And then other people will probably come back and go, oh, I'm sorry for acting that way. I've actually had some people come and apologize to me after years of treating me not good.
Wow.
And but I'm just, it was my dad who always taught us, and it was so annoying, but he'd be like, always kill people with kindness, be the nicer person, always. And my dad he's 74, so he's born in the 40s in the South.
He went through some stuff.
And he would always tell us that. I'm like, Dad, you're so nice. Like, the stories you've told us, people were so mean, and you're just full of love. And so, but it taught me that because you are always going to be okay with yourself when you spread love and joy and kindness,
Keep it positive.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about external. Just like Mariah was saying, dealing with the internal struggles or the trauma that she went through as adolescence and then shifting in high school, she could deal better with the external, with the people, with the girls saying, why are you taking our men, or just being ugly. So we know dealing with the inside first, me, like she was saying, will help you deal with the external.
Right.
So when we deal with ourselves, and when you begin to deal with yourself, I'll use you as an example of what you said, it will be easier to approach anybody.
Right.
It doesn't matter the color of their skin. It'll be easy to approach them because you're confident in yourself. And you're not, because you said this before, pleasing, wanting to please people. So let's talk about external. And as we get into external, we'll deal with it in how society try to put you all in a box. And so I'm always have Mariah to jumpstart us because it's to help you, and it's helping me too. Because it's teaching, because I'm not biracial.
Right.
I know what I'm black. And so, and I know people say that's watching, we all mix with all kind of different things, and we are.
Right.
But as society looks at me,
Right.
I'm black.
Right.
And so, when we have to check the boxes off, I'm African American.
Right.
Okay. And so let's deal with the external with how society tries to place us in a box.
One thing that just triggered by you asking that I didn't think about, I hadn't thought about this in forever, was again, I grew up with both sides, and I remember just taking like state tests, like those little tests they make us take, and you have to put your race,
Check the
and they would
box.
always make me put black, but I was like, what about my mom? Like, I spent a lot of time with her. What about her? She kind of she carried me.
She was there.
And I remember that but then I had a mixed friend who her dad was white. And so I was like, so y'all gonna let her put white? Because you had to go by what your dad was.
Dad.
To me, that never really made full sense, because then now
good.
you're pushing me to be more of one side than the other instead of embracing. So society kind of put me in that bubble of like, you have to just embrace your black side.
Wow.
But I'd be like, but as a kid, they were mean, And so I was like, and why do I have to just be one side? I want to be both. So that kind of made me like ashamed of my mom, but then I'm being bullied by the black girls and some white girls. you know? And so I was like, just so confused.
Yeah,
and I
very
remember
confused.
a guy I dated in like high school, he made a joke one day and he's like, I bet you just really confused growing up, huh? And him saying that triggered me, and I was like, I was. Like, all jokes aside, I really 100% was.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad did the best job. I can't say that enough. But just them trying to put me in a bubble of, you're just going to choose your black side. And I'm like, but now on everything, I choose black and white. and I'm like, and you can't stop me, because I am both and I love both.
Yes.
And you're not going to make me choose. Because that's rude.
I remember always checking Caucasian, like to the point where something came in the mail the other day, and it was from years ago, and it says Caucasian on it. Like, there was no way I was going to check anything else, because I did not feel that at that time. So like, even now, I don't know what to check. I don't know what to do. So I guess
Check
I will
both.
do both. Now I know. Now I'm getting some real answers here. And I hate that, like you talk about how your parents, not my parents are great. I'm not
I
saying
know them.
anything.
They
My
are.
mom is
No,
wonderful. My dad,
no.
the man that's raised me, he's not my real dad, but he's been a great dad. He's bought me 7 cars. He's put up with so much.
Wow,
of my
he's your
stuff.
dad.
Yeah, that's my
Yes.
dad. But I don't have that out, like, the black side to even talk to or ask anybody questions about. It's so just crazy to me how I don't have any reference or any, besides now. But back then I had no one to
No, you
talk to,
didn't.
no one to ask. And that's the one regret that I have from my childhood, is that I would have been exposed to more.
But that's not your fault.
Right.
No.
And now
And
they
my
have
mom's great.
Yeah, now they have so many avenues with the 23andMe and all the DNA testing, and you can find cousins and
Right.
and
Cousins and
and
cousins.
you can message them.
Right.
And you can tell them your story. I think that'd be really cool. And again, balls in their court. Like,
Right.
none of that is
See
your
how
fault.
right.
Yes.
But you're accepting it, and that's another way of you accepting and trying to reach out. I would do that. I am just such an extrovert. Now I'm like, I want to know everything. I want to know everyone. and if you don't like me, well, that sounds like a personal problem.
Right. That's a
Yes.
you thing,
Yes,
not a me
not
thing.
a me thing.
That's a you
The more
thing.
you accept that, the more life
better
will
life
just be
is,
so
huh?
easy. Life's already hard enough. Let's not
Right?
make it any
Let's not
harder.
make it any more complicated.
And I believe you've already answered this, but I want just to hear a more structured answer on it for you, because I know you embrace both sides.
Right.
Living in society as a biracial woman, how do you, and this is how we're going to start getting into, as you were saying, Black Lives Matter. What does it mean to be a biracial woman in this society
Right now.
right now?
It means I can help. That's how I look at myself. I can help other people understand on both sides what I went through, what it's like to be biracial, and how to not hate someone based on what they look like.
Right.
That It's not okay to be racist against someone and you don't know them.
Yes.
Because I went through that hardcore. So I look at myself as like a mediator almost.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
And I'm a middle child as well. And so I'm
the
just
gap.
I'm in
In the
that gap. And so I truly, in that, when all the Black Lives Matter sparked, I started to look at myself as like, because I became overly passionate about it. Because I think before I'd be like, oh, I don't want to speak on anything overly. But now I'm like, who has questions? Because I have answers. And if I don't, I'm going to try to answer it the best I can. But definitely I feel like the mediator, the person who can try to get you to understand from both sides.
Yes.
And help as best as I can.
You?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like a bridge between the two,
Yes.
the two different sides. Unity is what the word that came to me, because
Wow.
I want to be that we're not different. We have more in common than we
Yes.
do different, and it doesn't have to be a separate of one side or one side. We can be both. We can
Right.
be mixed. We can be whatever, and and it all works out. God has a plan and all that. And
Yes.
that's really a bridge to join the two, to where it's not separate. God
Right.
doesn't want us separate. A house divided
Is
will
not-
fall.
Will fall.
Yes.
And I want to help for people to come together and
Right.
see what we have in common.
And from experience. So not just saying, well, based on what I studied, but no, I'll be like, for
lived
real, I lived this. And I remember when all that happened, talking to a white woman who was like, well, all lives matter. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. And then to a Black girl who was like, well, white people started racism. And I'm like, I don't think you understand, but let me help both of you to
Yes.
understand. And from a very calm, not yelling, not argumentative.
And we call that, in I would say the church world, sitting at the table of brotherly love.
Yes.
And when you come to the table, love has to be there first.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so
Has to
you
be.
don't have to go yelling and just demanding people to hear you, but you have to hear them too.
Right.
And sometimes you have to agree to disagree.
And
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But leave with love.
Right.
And that's the key for this. When you say unity, and we not in my city unite, that is the key of it, is love and no preconceived notions.
Right.
And so that's why I said we first to get into the streets of just the wake of the protests
Right.
and what we've been through in the last couple of years, police brutality, systemic racism. And how have you processed all of that, of what you've seen and you've heard?
The first thing, when I first started seeing it, I was like, oh gosh, because there is an issue, and that you have to be, no matter what race or whatever, you have to know there's an issue, and that's not okay. And for me, seeing all that, I just had a sense of sadness because I grew up with both. With my mom, like I said, being from Jasper, and my dad being from the South, and we did okay, and they did such a good job with me, and I learned to love equally both sides. So I was like, why can't other people just get to know people for themselves? And so that was my first initial thought, was why can't we all just get along? And I know that sounds weird, but
Yeah,
that's literally what I thought. And that we need to know that there is an issue. And it might even go beyond what we're going through. It's obviously, it starts from the home. And if you're not exposed to different races and different things, you're already going to live in this bubble. Your family's already set you up to live in a bubble. So then it's not even like your fault. It's just what you know. And so that's okay. We learn that's what you went through, that's what you know. So now you got to get past that. And you have to know that there are issues. And what can you do to fix it? My best friend is white, and she called me during all this because I'm just such an easy person. I got reached out to by many people, all races. And they were like, what can I do to fix this? Or not fix it, but what can I do to help? And I'm like, just learn and understand both sides.
Yes.
And don't jump and just blame one side. Not all white people are racist. Not all black people are bad. Like, you can't have these preconceived, thought. You just have to live in the moment, get to know
Yes.
people for who they are,
Yes.
and understand what happened, and then keep it moving. That's my favorite thing to say to people is work from
Yes.
now, understand the past, and keep going. And I reached out to my dad as soon as it happened because my dad was born in the 40s in the South.
Yes.
The stories he went and has told us make me cry. Like, I can't even think about it. But I said, what do you think about all this? Because you are really the generation that has the right to be angry,
Right.
because you went through it hardcore physically. And he said, and it makes me cry, he goes, we gotta love each other.
Yes.
And if we don't do that, he goes, I understand what I went through, and I know that it's not everyone's fault, and you can't automatically have these judgments on people. But if we don't lead with love, like you said, that's exactly what my dad said. I was like, have you been talking to him? But he said that.
He's been talking to me because he's older.
But he was like, we have to love, because burning things and being mad and hating people is not going to get us anywhere.
No.
So that's how I felt with it. And like I said, my dad just had that when he said leading with love and he went through bad stuff, I was like, okay, if he can get through that,
Yes, I can.
then I can and everyone else can.
Yes.
And it has to be both sides.
Yes.
And it has to be love
Yes.
and Christ.
Yes.
Right.
And I like what you said earlier, and you kind of giggled about it. Can we all just get along? It's very simple,
It is.
It is.
but it's very profound.
Yes, it is 100%.
It's very
Absolutely.
simple. And see, that's why I love God, because it's the foolish things.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We want to be so intellectual and astute and all that. It's the simple things for God.
Oh yeah, and I know God's just going, this is way easier. Y'all
Yes.
are making this
Yes.
way more
Yeah,
difficult than it
most
has
definitely.
to be.
Yeah.
Because life doesn't have to be this hard. Y'all are making it hard.
Yeah.
All you have to do is get along. You don't have to. You just have to love. It's so
it's love.
easy.
Love doesn't mean I have to be with you every day, all day.
No, and
I
it
have to
doesn't
hang
not-
out with you.
Right. It just means
It can
you
be.
just,
I can be polite. I can be kind. Smile. It doesn't mean we have to kick it all day.
You have to
No.
keep it
And you're my
moving.
best friend.
Right.
No, no. I just I want you to be blessed.
Right.
Okay, I
Right.
want you to have a good day. It might just be a good day. And so, what about you? I mean, the last time I know you just had a hard time. You were processing everything because honestly, it was fresh. You just
was.
found out. And then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
put you on camera. And so,
We need each other's numbers because we're gonna hang out after this. I already know.
Absolutely.
and so that's why I did it. And so, how about you now? Processing everything that you see, social media.
I think that it's opened a line of communication for me because, with my husband is white, his family is white, everybody that I am close with, it's opened a talk. We can talk about what's going on. Like it's kind of gave me, and I know the riots and all that stuff. We've been so fortunate that nothing has happened here and all that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Totally.
I've never been more happy to live in Southeast Texas than after this COVID, because I honestly feel like we haven't had to do some of the stuff that the big cities and everything. We have a more calm state at this point. So it's really opened the lines for me to talk to people about how they feel about it, about, what can we do?
Yeah.
How can we bridge the gap, which is a lot of the reason why I wanted to do the Princess Crown adjustments with the little
Yes.
girls, because the white moms don't know how to, not just the hair. The hair was the main draw, bringing them in there. Let's talk about hair. But really, I wanted them to find a common ground, to find what they have in common and how they
Yes.
can connect rather than disconnect.
Have
'Cause
me
I
and my
think
mom there.
connection is so
Yes.
important. And somebody said something to me the other day that really stuck with me, and it was, people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yes.
So you have to love people, just like you
Yes.
were saying.
Right.
That is the most important. If you come from a place of love and positivity, people will embrace that
Embrace it.
instead of being negative and trying to, violence and all this other stuff. We have to approach it at the beginning with love and wanting to understand
Yes.
the other side so that we can live in unity together.
Absolutely.
It's very important. And it's simple, just like you said.
It's simple.
God
It's
just
very-
wants us to love.
It's simple, but yet it's difficult.
It's hard, yeah.
Because if everyone that's watching don't know God
No.
Right.
and don't understand the love of God. So it can be difficult. And sometimes it's difficult for us that know. Because we don't fully know him to the fullness. It's hard for us to love.
Right.
It is.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's even hard for us to like.
Yes.
Sometimes. It's hard for us to like, let alone get to the love.
Right.
And so, but just taking a step towards it
Right.
and advancing just one step to advance in it can keep us moving in it and not stop.
Right.
So let's go into this last question. Just tell us, and we'll start with you, Tiffany. Tell us of any new events and assignments that you're doing. I know last time you were here, you're talking about, just like you said, about the crown. I like to call it the crowns. I called all the girls little queens when I was there. And I want you to tell everyone about it. I'm not going to elaborate. I was there at the first one. About your new assignment that God gave you. He was giving it to you when you got here, but he just really, I believe, manifest more about it after the interview.
So we, my hair was always a struggle growing up. My mom had no idea. She has straight white hair. So I found some pictures of myself when I was like, oh my gosh. I don't know what they were doing, but it was bad. So I wanted to get some girls. We took some girls 8, 9 years old, and we did an hour of just doing their hair. I taught their moms some stuff. I used what's called the curly girl method on my hair. So we went over some stuff, not drying with a towel, using a t-shirt and silk pillowcases and bonnets and all this things. And a lot of these moms had no idea because a lot of them were foster moms, and they said that the black moms at the foster would be mean to them about not being able to do these babies' hair. So we really did an intensive class, and then we took them to the church afterwards, and we blessed them. We gave them everything they would need to do their hair, from shampoo
A
to
whole
mousses.
kit, a bag,
Everything they would need, and crowns, and fed them dinner like little queens. We served them. It was really nice, and we're gearing up to. We don't have a date yet. We're thinking maybe February, but I think this time we're going to take some older girls, maybe like 13, 14 years old, where they can kind of understand what's going on at the same time. So that's what I'm putting my efforts into right now, and it's really exciting. If you know anybody,
Well, I just when you were saying that, kind of just throw this in on behalf of Pastor David and Pastor Haley. Foster parents need the support from African American men and women. They need that support because their hearts are to take care of them and not to shield them or take them away from their culture, but to bless them. And now God has blessed them to be able to stay in that child's life, I feel, forever. Right. Even though the beautiful baby girl went back to be with her family, but now they partake in her life weekly. Right. And so we have to be there to love and take care and to help. Yeah. So I'm just shouting out because I mean, you can you can text me, Facebook message me, put thumbs down, don't like me, but I'm shouting out all to the black people, please, let's stop that. Let's help one another. Yes. Especially when foster parents, adoptive families, grandmothers, grandfathers, single fathers, single mothers are trying to take care of their kids and love their kids, and they need help. And we cannot be down on them because they're not doing it right. Well, they don't know.
They don't know, right.
So help them. Yeah. Give them love.
Every hair is different.
Yes. Everybody,
so I like to have somebody for every thing we could run into. We even had some little girls that were white, that had white moms that just had curly hair.
Right.
So anybody that knows anything about black hair, curly hair, we're open
Any
to
type of
learning
hair.
and to come and help us.
And they can contact us here at
Get
One
them in
City
touch with
Church, Not in My City Unite, and I will connect you with Tiffany.
Right.
Mariah.
Right now, to respond to what you were saying, I have some people.
Yes, she does.
And my mom was one of those moms that had our hair. And like I said, she was familiar with curly hair.
Right.
But our hair, mine is very coarse.
Yeah.
And my older sisters, who are mixed as well, but mixed with like Italian and black.
wow.
And that is some coarse hair.
Yes.
And so my mom could help, and I know some hairstylists that
Yes, she
work
does.
with all
Awesome.
kinds. So we'd love to. Like you're saying that, I'm like, I want to
She's
come.
ready. She's ready to jump in.
Oh, I'm ready.
Jump her in. Jump her in. And new assignments. Talk about MGM.
Oh my gosh, my new assignments. Where do I start? But I just opened my own gym, and she's one of my clients, like we said multiple times. And so I'm doing all kinds of one-on-one training, virtual training, group training from all different ages. I'm
Yes.
doing, my youngest is 8 years old, and I'm doing with like specifics because I have like gymnastics, dancers, athletes, normal just training. And my oldest, shout out Jeanette, is 74.
Yes.
And I like I said, I have athletes. I have normal weight loss. I have weight gain. I have everyone. And then I'm doing a lot of online work. I do a lot of influencing and modeling.
Oh, yes.
And so just to take a step back, being okay and growing up and learning and being okay with myself has made me this extrovert that I can go anywhere in the world and get along with anyone
Yes.
at any time. And
she travels.
And I travel
Your
a ton.
big main model for?
Yes, my biggest brand is Athleta. And so I have flown all over the world with them. It's just such a great experience. Germany, Austria, Hawaii, Mexico, and just doing a ton because of COVID, more online work right now, but still being able to chat and work with people from all over the world
Yes.
is what I'm working on right now. And then my husband is super into football, so I'm doing the team mom
Yes.
thing and also working with some of those kids, getting the linemen ready for the season next year. And so I'm super excited about that. So it's never ending, but it's
Yes.
super, super, super rewarding.
And I want to say this. She is certified and degreed.
Yes. Oh, I'm certified. I have my bachelor's in exercise science and fitness management with a minor in kinesiology teaching because I originally wanted to coach. I grew up playing softball and dancing. And then I have my degree, my certification in ACSM. It's American College of Sports Medicine. I wanted to go the PT route originally, but then I lost 80 pounds back in
That's
2013. And I was like, I can help people do that. And I'm super injured. I've had 3 knee surgeries. I need a 4th, but who's counting? And I have asthma, scoliosis, everything. So I'm just a living testimony that movement is key.
Is key.
And so not only am I well studied in this, and I have many different other certifications, but I experienced it,
Yes.
which I can relate with so many different people.
Right.
And being biracial has helped me be able to talk. And relate with so many different people. So because I understand them beyond just physically.
Right.
I'm like, internally, what's going on? And I didn't realize that helped me really until the Black Lives Matter
Right.
stuff. Because it helped me, it triggered something to start questioning, why am I the way I am?
Before, I like to always allow a guest to leave with an encouragement word for those that are watching, that's struggling,
Right.
and even for those that have victory to encourage them and move forward. But I do want to shout out to your dad because he always, every time, I'm calling Papa Walker.
Papa
every
Walker.
time,
Papa Ed.
every time you take a picture of him on social media, he has a Not in My City shirt on.
And he wears that shirt.
And he wears, I've just given him so many. He loves
it.
He loves Not in My City. So just shout out to you for wearing the t-shirt and putting it out there and living literally the life of Not in My City, of racial reconciliation and of love.
Yes.
So let me start with Tiffany, and then Mariah, you just pick up from where she is. Just to encourage those that are struggling, those that might not know, those that might have found out, and you encourage those that just having a hard time,
Right.
Just being themselves in it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I would say if you're going through anything like what I went through, definitely explore, like research, find out where your people come from, find out everything you can about you and embrace it, and know that God made you just the way you are and you're perfect and there's nothing wrong with however your genetic makeup is, and embrace that and love yourself and talk to people. Like, reach out to somebody that doesn't look like you and open that line of communication. Try to find out about them and build connections, because connections are what's going to keep us from imploding as a country.
Yes.
For sure. And if you're going through it and trying to it's all about finding yourself, being biracial and being okay with it. So you have to, first step is internally, why am I feeling this way? Whatever way you're feeling. And then just being okay with it, accepting if you're Hispanic and white, black, white, Asian and black, whatever it is, embracing both sides of it,
I love that.
being okay with it, loving it, and then just being yourself. And so if anyone has an issue with that, then you just pray for them, you send them positive vibes, whatever you have to do, and know that that's a personal problem with them and not with yourself.
Yes.
So if you can start just with loving yourself, accepting yourself, exploring and accepting both of your cultures, and having such a strong foundation with that, it'll just be a breeze after that. Because then if you're so okay with yourself and you're so educated in yourself and where you come from, and people have an issue with that, you know that that's not your fault. Right. And then you just go, well, I love you, and have a good day, but I'm okay with me, and you're not going to make me feel any kind of way about it, because I've already been through so much.
Yes.
So sorry you feel that way, but I'm good being me, you know?
I want to say thank you, Tiffany and Mariah, but I want to say to anybody struggling with whatever, it might not be you're biracial, but you're just struggling with yourself, your identity of who you are, of not understanding or knowing. For me, I love Psalms 139, verses 13 through 17. I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to give you just a little bit of it. And verse 14 says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and your works are wonderful. I know that full well. And to know that God's work in you is just well and wonderful, you have to know that first and embrace that first, so you can embrace yourself and know that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Right. That doesn't mean you don't have bad days, and that doesn't mean you don't have insecurities. And I also like what the word says in verse 16, your eyes saw my unformed body. So he knew us before we was even formed.
Right.
And it says, all the days ordained for me, not for my parents or anyone else, were written in the book, meaning his book, before one of them came to be.
Amen.
So all my days, all of this was written in his book.
Right.
He already knew.
He already knew. He already knew you were strong enough to handle it. You were strong enough to handle it. Not just for yourself, but for others. So if you don't take anything from that, from what we've talked about, take that you're fearfully and you're wonderfully made.
Amen.
Yes, ma'am.
And I feel in my heart to just say I love everyone that's watching, and we'll see you next time on Not in My City Unite.